1st, 2024. Welcome to November. About 9:07. Sorry, a little late here this morning. Just trying to get the charts. Had some issues. But talk about the market, some names I'm looking at really quick and go from there. But take a look at the S&P bouncing a little bit. Well, I wouldn't say a little bit. S&P futures are up about a 0.5% here. Somewhat of a bounce. We had Apple and Amazon earnings after the close yesterday. Amazon, nice beat and raise. Apple doesn't give guidance, but they had a nice beat. But it's down a little bit in the pre-market. Probably a bounce play. With strong numbers, so that kind of helped the futures. And then this morning we got the October jobs report, and I think I mistyped that on the watch list this morning. I probably put September, but uh, came in lower than expected, right? 12K jobs versus the 100 and whatever it was estimates, and there was also backward revisions of like 100K from September and August. Despite that, the unemployment rate stayed flat at 4.1%. So now it's the Fed's job right here because the year before when inflation was running rampant, it was almost like the Fed was pushing the market, wanting to see a recession, right? To get the inflation cooled down. It's almost like they were kind of inciting a inflation or being the catalyst for one. And now, as inflation's going down, it's almost you don't want to see weaker data. You don't want to see the data get too weak, or then the R word's going to start rearing its head. So don't want to see that. But this is on the heels of yesterday's weekly jobless claims, which came in uh, better than expected. So you have good data yesterday, which would kind of point to stronger employment. And then today you have the October jobs report coming weaker than expected. So kind of, I don't know if it's going to offset the move yesterday, but it just seemed like the market, we've been chopping around all week. And then it's just like we gapped lower and then the sellers came in and it's like, okay, we're going to go down today. And everybody people are taking profits. You can, some of that, Microsoft and Meta typically bounce and with great earnings. I mean, I talked about it yesterday. The cost issue, it's not an issue that has been just popped up, right? A couple of years ago, Google had an issue with costs and the stock sold off, but that was a surprise. With Meta, they know they're spending on their the metaverse, which has been $40 billion investment, which hasn't really played out, and then the AI side of things. So I mean, it's all anyway. So hopefully the market can find no reversal here today, find some support. We can get, I don't know if we'll get to 575 here today, but just I don't want to see that 50-day moving average, which is at 567.82. Don't want to see that get hit today. And then maybe we can have some solid, or at least hold ground into next week, which is another week of excitement. We have the Fed meeting, we have the election, and plenty of earnings. Funny enough, I mean, the VIX soared over 23, but then yesterday yields actually sold off. So hopefully that 10-year can start to come down, and that maybe that's the next catalyst for markets. All right, so that's overall names. So individual names, and Peloton, which I had added the spec calls into earnings, soared yesterday, almost tested $9 at about noon. Maybe it was 11:30, 892. Pulled back, closed at 850. This morning you have a mixed bag of analysts, right? So you have Morgan Stanley. They raised their price target, I think to 12. Did they? No, there was one that raised their price target, but most of them are either raising price targets, keeping their rating, or upgrading the stock. I think it trades into the double digits in the coming weeks. I went and locked most of my November strikes in for over 100%, nearly 200%. I'll probably, depending on what it does here today, I might close the rest out, just hold the Januaries, just to take the risk off, ride the Januaries, which I kind of use the profits from the Novembers to finance, and then just what if it starts to break 9 and then maybe in the double digits, maybe I'll look for some more spec calls. But really like this story. I don't have time here to do my rant on it, but maybe this afternoon I'll give more color on why I think it's the start of a turnaround. So that's PTON. Then some other names which were actually holding up pretty well despite the market weakness. Fiverr, which broke over 30 in the morning before pulling back, closed at 29.26. 4 sessions in a row to the upside, considering its big move on Wednesday. The fact that it held its ground with the market selling off, I think that bodes well. If it breaks over 30, I'll look for more strikes to play for upside. I'm still holding the freebies I got on Wednesday, and with a little profits, I'll hold those. I put on the watch list I was talking about on the rant yesterday afternoon was about lemonade, right? So the sector's been you usually see a lot of these sectors run up in tandem, and we saw that. And I was talking about SoFi, Lending Tree, Upstart, all those companies as a whole, that whole sector went on a tear as rates started to come down and things like that, right? So they bottomed and rallied. I'm not saying the insurance sector is the next one. I mean, we saw nuclear recently, right? It seems like they all go in tandem. Insurance, and I talk about Goosehead was one of my top 5 stocks a couple years ago. Goosehead Insurance. Now you have Lemonade. Lemonade was kind of like the disruptor, right? So like instead of having a face-to-face insurance agent or your go-to person, I mean, you still kind of do, but it's like a brick and mortar using AI to find the best deals and They're supposed to have, I mean, they have their DEI stuff, but that's not here nor there, but it has a huge short interest. They came out with their earnings and bested estimates, and it seems like the path to profitability is closer than where it was in the past. So you saw a big gap down in August from mid 20s all the way down. I think it hit $15, chopped around. Then this earnings kind of alleviated concerns. You see the snap back up into the mid 20s. I think it might go up to $30 beyond in the coming week. So I'll be watching today. If it shows some strength, maybe it breaks 25 again. I'll look to get some 30s for November, and I might look for some more strikes on strength. But another name is I'm adding it to the watch list. Not a name I've watched in a while, but certainly a name that I'm putting on the watch list. And the other thing, it's similar. You see, Trupanion was one of my names that I still like in regards to pet insurance. And here's Lemonade's. It's in that category. So. All right, so let me look at a longer term chart. Still, 25 is a big spot. Back in the middle of 2023 in the summer, it was up at 25. So if it gets that 25 handle breaks, I think it's off to the races. All right, so big week. Big weekend. We have Obesity Week starts Sunday, ends on Wednesday, November 3rd to the 6th. You have VKTX, GPCR with posters coming out on Sunday. GPCR actually has 3 presentations. So I don't know exactly all the specifics on their data, but it's one of those names that's, again, GPCR is one of my top 5 stocks for 2024. It's also one of the names you kind of see mentioned a lot as an acquisition target. Some of the reason it hasn't performed well recently is because when their data came out, there were some adverse effects, more than I guess it was in line, but just there was some issues there. And then, but the stock reversed a sell off and rallied. I had the calls there; I was able to lock those in. But it seems like some analysts think they're going to be able to work out the adverse effects by working on the not the amount of dosage, but how many days between or weeks or what have you. So that they think it's a manageable situation in regards to the adverse effects, and to still be able to get superior results. But it's one of those names that it could have a surprise. And you look at the calls, the 55 strikes look interesting on a risk-reward basis. Don't be surprised if I add some GPCR into the weekend as a spec play, because obviously, 2 outcomes. One is the posters, and there is no data that comes out that surprises. The stock stays flat. And the other, they have disappointing data in the stock tank. So there's, a 33% chance that it might have a serious move to the upside. So, and also you have to think there's going to be some other bio companies there. They know that all the people in the obesity space are going to be there. You have to think people are chattering. It's like the MLB, baseball's week where all the general managers meet, or football's week in the offseason where they all meet, and then you have all these trades and things that go on. You have to think that if you're a biotech company, mega cap, that does not have exposure to GLP-1 space, you're going to be at the obesity week. All right, so that's VKTX at GPCR, and you take a look yesterday when it was up over 10% at times. So that's kind of why it came to my attention. I looked at the news and I'm like, oh wow, they have 3 posters. It's gonna come out on Sunday, so could be interesting. That's GPCR. Clear Secure had an upgrade this morning. Well, price target upgrade. Telsey Advisory Group maintained the outperform rating, raised the price target to 42 from 34. My thoughts there on Clear. And you look at the travel sector, travel sector as a whole, bookings went nuts yesterday on the strong beat and raise. Expedia was recently up on rumors that Uber might acquire them, and Expedia is definitely a name I got to put back on the watch, just because you have to think something's going to happen there at some point. But that just plays right into Clear's wheelhouse, right? I mean, it's the travel sector has been doing well, and then same with TravelZoo. And TravelZoo was down 1% yesterday, but considering how much it's rallied over the last 5 sessions, I think that's a win. So hopefully it can continue to find some stability here today. If it breaks over 1750, I might look to finally get those December and March strikes. And then last but not least, SE Limited and Win. SE continued its downside yesterday. I mean, not surprising considering the market, but I'm not considering trying to catch a falling knife, but if it does find some support today, I'll look to get some calls to encompass its earnings, which I think is November 12th. And then Win, Win finally, after chopping around for 5 sessions, found some weakness. They report Monday after the close. Really like this name, but at the same token, I'll be cautious. But I think a solid beat and raise, it should trade into the low 100s, if not higher. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.